Hello and welcome to another video. I hope you're doing so very well. Today I am bringing you an author review video and we're looking at Samantha Downing. I have had highs and lows with this author. This video is going to be completely spoiler free, so don't worry, I won't spoil any of these books for you, but I will tell you if they are worth your time or not and how I personally felt about them. I originally found Samantha Downing through her debut novel. I believe My Lovely Wife was her debut novel, and everyone started reading this book and absolutely loving it. So, of course, I jumped on the bandwagon and read it, and I loved it. I gave My Lovely Wife a 5 star when I originally read it. I don't know if I would give it a 5 star again upon reread, but I really enjoyed it and I have very fond memories of My Lovely Wife. So, in this book, we follow a couple who have been married for 15 years. Now, this couple are your friends, they're acquaintances. You might run into them at the school pickup or, getting groceries. They are the quintessential normal couple. But they hide a very dark secret, and that is that they like to kill people. Obviously, with this hobby of theirs, there comes a lot of issues, not only in their marriage, but outside issues as to if they're going to get caught, if they can trust each other, if like everyone's suspicious of them. Like, this is the perfect setting for a thriller, like a domestic thriller for me, simply because the suspicion cast on them through every other character made you it made you get adrenaline. The whole point of this couple is that they spice up their marriage by murder, and the outsource of people around them have no idea. So you're going through this whole book and you're thinking, that's suspicious as hell, and the characters surrounding them have no idea, but because you know what they are doing, you're like, that's so obvious. But it wouldn't be obvious if you didn't already have the foreknowledge that they like dark shit. So, because I gave this a 5 star, you could probably already tell that I had a really good time with this one. I believe it was fast paced, it was interesting, there was very unlikable characters, which I feel is a common theme through Samantha Downing's books. She writes unlikable characters really well, and I don't have to like a character in order to enjoy a story, but she has this talent, this knack for writing unlikable characters that keep you engaged all the way through the story. And this couple was definitely one of them. They were both as sick and twisted as each other. So seeing their inner monologues and their inner issues in this marriage, which is so, mundane and normal compared to their dark activities, is like it's like a parallel between two worlds, and it really came across so well in this book. So I believe this is Samantha Downing's best work. I'm starting on a high because this was my first introduction to this author, and it really made me want to read more of her work. And I'm pretty sure this was her debut. I will leave on screen if this was her debut or not, but I believe it was. And if I am correct in that, this was a knockout of a debut. And I was so excited to continue on to her other work, which leads us on to For Your Own Good. I I didn't actually have much interest in this when it came out because I believed there was other thrillers that was taking my attention more. But when I decided to do this deep dive into Samantha Downing's work, I thought, well, I have to read all of them to get a well-rounded feel for the author. So in For Your Own Good, we follow a teacher. Now, you want to believe the best for your children. You want them to have the best of the best, and that is what Belmont Academy is for. If you want your child to succeed, you send them to this academy. And you think the teachers have got their best interest at heart, right? Well, unfortunately, there is one teacher that has slightly more malicious intentions regarding everybody, not just students, just everybody. I was pleasantly surprised by this one. I feel like this one was lower on my interest scale, which is interesting. I did give this a 3 star. It was middle of the road, but it was so fast paced. Like the story felt like it kept you engaged so much that even if it was a little bit predictable where it was going to go, or the characters weren't quite hitting the spot. There was one character I wish had more to play with the plot. Like, they were introduced and it could have been like a huge plot point, but I believe they just weren't used to their potential quite enough. um the book still went so fast though, like it was still engaging and interesting, and you really did want to know what was going to happen next. And I do believe that if you like kind of like a school setting, like, I wouldn't say this is dark academia, but it kind of is, following a teacher and an academy that is now experiencing murders. So by extension, maybe, but like essentially you are in this school setting and you are following a teacher, a student. Well, you're following multiple teachers and a student and the family surrounding a very, very bad thing. And I just thought this was well done, but it just didn't push enough for me. I wanted more from it. I wanted, like, there was a revenge plot that could have happened that I was really dying for, but like that didn't come through and I was like a little bit sad about that. And then there was like the character that didn't reach its full potential, which I was like, maybe they could have went further with that. Overall, I really did enjoy this story. I do think that it deserved the 3 stars. And if we're going on half stars, it would get a 3.5. Um I don't tend to give out half stars a lot. I tend to stick to a basic star rating just to make things easier for my brain. But sometimes there is books that just don't fit in to a very simple star rating, and this is one of them. It wasn't quite middle of the road to the point where I would forget about it after a while because this will stick with me. But it wasn't quite a 4 star where I would remember it all and recommend it heavily. So it would fall in the 3.5 star category. And I do recommend this if you're looking for a fast paced, set at a school with everyone is kind of like at risk. There's no one that is not at risk. Everyone has something to lose or something to gain, and it is very interesting how this story was told. I was just missing a few little bits here and there that could have elevated the story a little bit more for me, but I did enjoy it, which is more than I can say for our next book, which is He Started It. I picked up He Started It because I read My Lovely Wife, and then I picked up He Started It in a physical edition. I'm not holding it up because it is currently in my unhaul pile. I gave this 2 star. I did. I gave this a 2 star. Um, this was not this was not it for me. So essentially, in this book, we follow this family, and their grandfather dies, and in order to get their inheritance, they need to take the exact same road trip that they took when they were children and get to the end. Once they complete it, they'll get their inheritance. Only the road trip that they took when they were younger isn't quite a road trip because they were kidnapped by their grandfather. And the road trip they're taking now is very much bringing back memories of things that happened. And one of the things that happened was their sister went missing, and no answers have came of that. I wanted so much from this story, but it was just lackluster, unfortunately, for me. The flashbacks to the past road trip were more interesting than the current road trip. None of the characters were likable in any sense, and I feel like I don't have to like a character to enjoy a story. But when the story is lackluster, the plot is lackluster, and the characters are unlikable, it just doesn't work. There needs to be something to keep you going. And if I wasn't making this video, I potentially maybe would have DNF'd this, which maybe means it should be a 1 star if I would have DNF'd if I wasn't reading for a video. I also had this on my self destruct, which I'm glad I read it because I don't really like getting rid of books that I don't read. But I probably could have gave this one a miss. If I had to unhaul this as a self destruct, I wouldn't be mad. but I wouldn't know that if I hadn't read it. So I guess it's a double-edged sword, essentially. But but yeah, it was just, it just wasn't there for me. The flashbacks were interesting, but the current storyline wasn't. None of the characters were likable. The plot was slow. There was too much going on while simultaneously nothing was going on. It was one of those books where, you're waiting for something to happen, and then when that thing does happen, it's just like, okay, fine, cool. It wasn't like, I knew it. It was like, really? This this is what I've been waiting for. I've went 30 pages of them traveling and eating fast food to get this. This is not what I signed up for. So unfortunately, this is the worst Samantha Downing book that I have read, and I would not recommend this. I mean, I find it hard to say that I wouldn't recommend books because I believe everyone's a different reader and everyone has, different things that they like. And if you like a road trip book with unlikable characters and slow kind of burn reveals, then you would maybe like this. But there was a lot of things that happened in the third act of this book that just they could have happened earlier and it would have made the story a lot more interesting. Like there was so many things if it shifted into the second act and then the third act could have stood on its own, it maybe would have made the story more interesting. But I did find myself bored through a lot of this book, unfortunately, and it's not one that I would recommend. But I am glad that I read it because I now have read all of Samantha Downing's work. And even though I have a very mixed bag of results, I probably will pick up her future releases just because I do have hope that she will bring out another My Lovely Wife, another hit, another banger for me, but it's just not happened yet. Because when I picked up A Twisted Love Story, I had high hopes that I would get another hit from this author. Unfortunately, this was another 2 star. I mean, we have My Lovely Wife, which was 5 star, then For Your Own Good, which was a 3 star, and then He Started It, which was a 2 star, but it probably deserves a 1, and then A Twisted Love Story, which is a 2 star. So I literally have everything apart from a 4 star on this list from this author. And one of them is a 3.5, so that's right in the middle of quite a three and a four. This book was promising. You follow Wes and Ivy, and they have had an off and on toxic relationship, and they decide to go on again. But unfortunately, a detective starts looking into an unsolved murder that they might know more than they say. And I don't know. This wasn't really. It didn't feel like a thriller to me. It didn't really feel high stakes. Like the both of the characters were bland. They weren't even unlikable. They were just boring, bland, average characters, which is fine. But when the plot is like boring, like it wasn't. There was nothing. There was nothing in this book, unfortunately. Like I would have liked to see more of the like relationship and why it was toxic before the detective got involved. And also the whole plot of this book, the whole unsolved murder, again, was lackluster. Like it just wasn't coming from My Lovely Wife, which was like down and dirty and nasty in the thriller spectrum, where it was like, oh, like that's cool. Coming from that and going to a twisted love story just felt bland, unfortunately. It just didn't hit any of the marks that I wanted it to. And it just, a lot of the time, it felt like we were spending with this couple while nothing was going on. Like, absolutely nothing. And, like, there was a couple of side characters that came in here and there, and I was just like, I don't care. The only thing that saved this book from being a 1 star was the ending. I will say that Samantha Downing does write great endings. She has a way of wrapping things up and making the third act final punch really shine. And that goes with all of her books. The third act has never been an issue with me with this author. She knows how to close a story. Unfortunately, with this one, it just wasn't a story for me. It just didn't hit anything that I wanted it to hit. And it saved itself in the third act for doing something unexpected, even if it was like low stakes because I didn't really care about any of the characters. So yeah, I do believe that this one was, I believe I would say A Twisted Love Story was my most disappointing. I would say He Started It was my most surprising because I was so surprised that I didn't like it. And I would say For Your Own Good was, well, I don't know, because For Your Own Good was probably the most surprising, simply because it was the one I had least interest in. But apart from My Lovely Wife, it's been the biggest hit. So I would say that's probably my biggest surprise. He Started It was probably um overhyped. No, because it wasn't even that hyped. I don't even know what category He Started It would fall into. Um, and My Lovely Wife was just like a one hit wonder at this point, which is sad to say because I feel really bad. I feel like I wanted this video to be like a review video of an author's work. And don't get me wrong, I am not shitting on Samantha Downing. I do enjoy her work. I will continue to pick up her thrillers and I will continue to recommend My Lovely Wife. I just feel like I'm so disappointed because I thought I was going to read these books and come on here and be like, read this, read this. And I'm coming on here and saying there is only two books that I would recommend, and that is My Lovely Wife and For Your Own Good. They are the two standouts for the four books that I've read from this author. Those are the two standouts and the two books that I would recommend. The other two I'm quite happy to just not talk about. But if you have read any of these books, let me know in the comments what your thoughts were because I'd be very interested to know if it was just me or like were you disappointed by A Twisted Love Story because that's a new release. And I feel like people might be picking that up and reading it and it might be their first introduction to Samantha Downing. If it is your first introduction, please go back and read My Lovely Wife and For Your Own Good because they are, in my opinion, the better novels. And I hope you maybe pick one of them up in regards to this video, even though this video has been kind of negative, which I don't want it to be. I didn't want to come on here and, kind of like down the books, but unfortunately, they just didn't work for me. And that's okay because we're all readers, we all have our own opinion, and some things work, some things don't. And with this author, I can safely say that I am split down the middle. I have two books that I would recommend and I enjoyed reading, and I have two books that I did not like and would not recommend. So, really, what should happen now is the next time Samantha Downing takes out a thriller, a new book, I should maybe do a vlog or a one book review, and that can kind of judge where I am with this author. It can kind of see if I should continue picking her up or if I should just leave it and find other authors to read. Because I am literally split down the middle, two books on two sides. So maybe that's what I will do. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to split the difference with her next novel and bring you guys a review and kind of like not recap this video, but you know, finally figure out if this author is someone that I should continue reading from their next novel or not. I I don't know how this video turned out and I feel kind of bad. I feel really guilty because I didn't want it to come across as like negative on this author, but there's only so much you can do when you have a split difference of books. But if there is a takeaway from this, read these two books. Don't read these two books. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed this video. And thank you so very much for watching. Remember to stay safe, happy, and healthy. And I will see you next time. Bye.